A very good morning, foodies. Welcome to the Gourmet Plate. Today, we are going to try 6 popular Daifuku spots in Tokyo and see which is our favorite. Our first stop will be Ganzo Shio Daifuku Mizuno, known for their salt-flavored Daifuku. Let's go! Here's why we never make it on time. So we're now at our first Daifuku spot, Shio Daifuku Mizuno, well known for their Shio Daifuku as you can see here. It's pretty whitish and it's pretty firm. Let's give it a try. Oh, it's very interesting. On your first bite, the saltiness hits you. It's not the extreme type of saltiness, it's a very moderate, very harmonious kind of saltiness. It hits you, and then you get a taste of that sort of fluffy and then semi-firm mochi surface. And then the sweetness from the red bean, it hits you. You get this sweetness. It's not an intense sweetness, it is a very moderate kind of sweetness. It's a very, I would say, pleasant kind of sweetness. So the combination of the salt and the sweetness, it really makes for a very, very interesting flavor. And if you can see, the paste inside, it's actually a firmer kind of paste, and it is what I believe is called suwan, which means that they actually grind the paste together with bits and pieces of the red bean skin. So it gives you a little bit of the skin texture. So when you bite in, you can see why a lot of people like this. It's really, really interesting. Plating time! Mizuno Shio Daifuku, you dish out pretty decent Daifuku with a pretty good balance in saltiness and sweetness of the red bean. For the gourmet plate, I think we'll give it a rating of okay, which means that it is pretty decent. If you happen to be around this area, you can definitely try them out. So we'll move on to our next spot. Let's go. We are now at our second Daifuku spot, Wagashi Dokoro Osumi Tamaya Honten, known for their Ichigo Daifuku, which is basically a fluffy Daifuku with juicy strawberry. It is said that they are also the very first store to sell and popularize Ichigo Daifukus. Here we got our Ichigo Daifuku, and it came in this pretty interesting paper packaging. And let's see what we got. Oh, they actually have this I think it's a description of their history, I believe, with their shop name and address behind. I don't know what they are saying because it's in Japanese. Let us just cut straight to the chase. Oh, this is very interesting. Normally when we see Ichigo Daifuku, the strawberry, you can actually see the strawberry is like laid on top of the Daifuku, but this one, I think the strawberry is inside the Daifuku. Oh my god, that's so interesting. Okay, let me just open this up. Oops. Okay, I tore it, guys. Okay, here we go. Oh, just look at this, like, oh, it's pretty fluffy and pretty big. It's amazing. And the skin, it feels very soft. Okay. Oh, it's flicking all over the place. Ready? If you just look at this, the strawberry inside is pretty good sized, and the moment I bite in, you can taste the slightly chewy and very soft mochi skin. And then you don't really taste the red bean first, you taste the juiciness of the strawberry. It's like the juice just oozes out, it's like it bursts sort of in my mouth. It's not overly sweet, but it's got a pretty nice, very mild berry fragrance, and it's very refreshing because it's juicy. And then after that, the red bean hits you with a very nice, harmonized sweetness. This is quite good. So I'm gonna pass this over to Quan, and she's gonna try. Let's see what she thinks.
The strawberry is very juicy, and the red bean is not too sweet. Pretty nice daifuku.
Plating time! Osumi Tamaya makes pretty good Ichigo Daifukus. The combination of the juicy strawberry, the smooth fluffy mochi skin, along with that sweet and very natural flavored red bean paste warrants it half a plate on the gourmet plate, which means it is pretty darn good Ichigo Daifuku. If you want to try out Ichigo Daifuku, I definitely recommend this place because it is by far the best Ichigo Daifuku that we have had. So that concludes our review for this particular store, and we are moving on to the next store. Let's go! We're now at our third Daifuku spot, Matsushimaya, right over there, which looks sort of like a very nice small little family run mom and pop store. And we have got here their traditional red bean Daifuku. Oh, as you can see, their Daifuku is generally a little bit smaller than the ones that we have seen so far. Oh, the skin is quite soft, but I can feel the firmness within. I think the red bean paste might be quite firm. So let me just take a quick bite. The powder, I believe, is a little bit salty, so the mochi skin has a little bit of saltiness. You can taste so many of these whole beans. I don't know if the camera can capture this, but there are so many whole beans in it. So the moment you bite in, it's all just beans. So it has this very nice bite texture, and that red bean is not intensely sweet. It's got a very nice natural sweetness to it. It's more firm, it's pasty, it's not as smooth, but it's got a very nice texture. Oh, I really like this. I really like this. This is nice. This is very nice. Do not be deceived by the smaller sized Daifuku of Matsushimaya. The fillings of whole beans as well as red bean paste were extremely generous, and this creates an amazing bite texture every mouthful. The saltiness from the whole beans as well as the sweetness from the red beans were also very well balanced, and this makes for a very, very tasty Daifuku. That being said, I believe that due to the nature of its thinner mochi skin, when you eat it in the cold weather, it tends to dry up relatively quickly. But not to worry, all you need to do is just to eat it quicker. With that, Matsushimaya Daifuku scores a 1 plate on the gourmet plate, which means it is tasty! I can see why the Showa Emperor loves this Daifuku. A very good morning, foodies. Today we are heading to our 4th Daifuku spot, Mizuho. And seeing that we have taken so much sweet stuff, we have decided to walk for 30 minutes to Mizuho from our hotel. So we'll see you there. We're now in Mizuho Daifuku and we got their traditional Daifuku. As you can see, it comes in a very nice plastic packaging. Oh, yeah, Daifuku is soft. Oh, and it's huge. Oh, compared to what we had yesterday at Matsushimaya, this is so much bigger. My goodness. Wow. Okay, as you can see, oh, it's also flaking. A lot of powder. You can see all these individual whole beans. They look really nice. This is one of the most beautiful, I guess, Daifuku that we have seen so far. So I'm going to take a bite. Let's take a bite with the bean on. I think over here. Okay. Oh. This Daifuku, you can definitely taste that the skin is very soft and fluffy. The skin is a lot thicker if you look at it. It's a lot thicker in skin. If you don't get a lot of the red bean in your first bite, there's not much of a taste to it. But the powder, it has this mild salty flavor, which is quite pleasant. It doesn't come from the beans are not salty. The red bean paste, I must say the sweetness is very, very well balanced. It's got this very pleasant, moderately mild sweetness that just slowly seeps in. As you taste the saltiness from the powder, and then you taste the softness of the mochi, and then you get the extra texture from that whole beans right over here. And this, I believe, is a smooth one which we call koshian, which is basically they do not have any red bean skin within. So this is a more delicate type of Daifuku. It's pretty good. Let's see what Pearlyn thinks about this.
I like the red bean taste, feels very smooth.
Plating time! The Daifuku from Mizuho is definitely the largest that we have seen so far. The red bean paste is amazing, and I think this is the best that we've had. It is the koshian, the smooth version, and among this smoothness, there's this magical graininess, and the sweetness is just right, it's at a perfect spot. However, I do find that the mochi skin is not very balanced. In certain parts, they are a bit too thick, so if you bite the thicker part, you get too much of the mochi and too little of the red bean paste. And also, I think the whole beans, they are a little bit scarce considering the size of the Daifuku, so you don't get that much of the amazing bite texture out of this Daifuku. That being said, Mizuho Daifuku scores half a plate on the economy plate, which means it is pretty darn good. Mizuho Daifuku is also located at Harajuku, so it's very easily accessible. If Harajuku is one of your sightseeing spots, give Mizuho a try. But you do need to come early because they sell out very early, I think somewhere around maybe 12 to 1 p.m. That concludes our review for Mizuho, our 4th spot. 4 down, 2 to go. Let's go to the next one. We're now at Tsukushi Daifuku at Meguro City. It's sort of a more suburb, I think, compared to the city center in Tokyo. So this is the Daifuku from Tsukushi. Oh, it's of a smaller size compared to what we just had just now. This is, I think, more like Matsushimaya, right, in terms of size. Yeah, a little bit smaller. Oh, but it's really, really soft. And you can actually see the individual beans, the large whole beans. So let's take a bite. Oh wow. This Daifuku, despite its smaller size, the mochi skin is ridiculously thin and it's super fluffy and soft. You get these whole beans, the whole beans are actually quite large, and you bite in, you get this mild sweetness from their bean paste. Apparently, Tsukushi, they do not use red bean, but they use soybean to make their bean paste. But to be honest, I cannot tell the difference. So it's still sweet bean paste. It's a very nice flavor. I think it's pretty decent, but it doesn't have that saltiness though. So it's a little bit more towards one-dimensional flavor. You just get the sweetness from red bean and then the softness of the mochi. But I think the balance is still done pretty well. Bonus item! We also got what they are quite well known for, which is the Kanoko. I think it translates in Japanese to child of deer, because apparently the pattern here looks like a pattern of the deer's back, I guess. So basically Kanoko is a rice cake wrapped with all the sweetened azuki beans, as you can see here. This looks really interesting. I think the flavor is a little one-dimensional. It's basically sweet with some chewy rice cake. Plating time! Despite being smaller in size, the Daifuku from Tsukushi does have very nice, soft, thin and fluffy mochi skin, and it pairs extremely well with their moderately sweet and very natural tasting soybean paste. However, I do find that the Daifuku from Tsukushi lacks that saltiness flavor layering compared to the likes of Mizuho as well as Matsushimaya. Therefore, Tsukushi scores a half a plate on the gourmet plate, which means it is still a pretty darn good Daifuku. That concludes our review for the Daifuku at Tsukushi, and we are moving on to our last spot, which is a very well-known spot, Gunrindo. We're now at our final Daifuku spot, Gunrindo, a long-established Daifuku store. So what we have here is their very well-known traditional Daifuku. As you can see, it is very fluffy. And the mochi skin is really soft and it's so powdery. And you can actually see the individual beans embedded into the mochi skin. So let's just quickly take a bite. Oh, this Daifuku. It's crazy. Oh, it's so good. On bite, you get to taste how smooth and soft and fluffy the skin is. And the powder is just dropping all over the place. The beans, they are in the mochi. They are actually salted. So you get this bean texture with the soft mochi skin. And then you get the saltiness, it's a very nice saltiness, followed by the natural sweetness of its red bean paste. And within the red bean paste, there are also red bean skin, individual skin. It adds to the texture. This is, I think, the best Daifuku that we have had. This is the best. This is the best. My goodness, it is really good. It's ridiculously good. My god, that combination. Plating time! The Daifuku from Gunrindo is very tasty. Gunrindo seems to have found the perfect balance between the saltiness of the whole beans and the sweetness of their red bean paste. For that, Gunrindo scores a 1 gourmet plate, which means it is tasty! La 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 la. 6 Daifuku spots in 2 days.
That's a lot of Daifuku.
Cue drum roll. Ranking time! Let's talk about our first spot. Shio Daifuku Mizuno. Fluffy mochi skin. Pretty decent balance of saltiness and sweetness. However, I think the lack of whole beans causes it to not have that much of a bite texture. Out of all the Daifukus that we've tried, this has the least bite texture. And so I'm sorry, but we have to place Mizuno in the last spot. Next up, let's talk about Tsukushi, located at Meguro City. Tsukushi, smaller size Daifuku, nice whole beans, and the interesting thing about them is their soybean paste, which has a very nice natural sweetness to it. But I think it's just plainly sweetness. It doesn't have that saltiness that we get from the likes of Matsushimaya, Mizuho, Gunrindo. Yeah, still a pretty decent Daifuku, but considering the size and all that, probably 5th spot. So next up, the rather famous Mizuho in Harajuku. I think that is the largest Daifuku we have had. Largest Daifuku. amazing soft mochi skin, very soft. So I would say pretty good balance between the saltiness of the powdery skin and that sweetness of their red bean paste. However, I think they suffer from the issue of uneven thickness in the mochi skin, so causing it to not have that refined flavor on every bite. And I think because due to it being so large, the whole beans are not enough. So some bites you get whole beans texture, some bites you don't get it. So I think Mizuho will have to settle for 4th place. Moving on, one of the very different, unique daifukus, which is the Ichigo Daifuku from Osumi Tamaya Honten. Juicy, huge strawberry. Yeah, soft, thick mochi skin. Pretty delicious and good red bean paste. All in all, very nice, very interesting. But again, lacks that whole bean bite texture. And I think, personally, I think on the gourmet plate, we still prefer the traditional Daifuku. It feels more refined. But still, really impressive Ichigo Daifuku, which is why they are in the 3rd place. So we are now down to our final 2 contestants, Matsushimaya and Gurindo. Matsushimaya and Gurindo are very similar in many ways. Their flavor, their texture layering, so similar. The difference is Matsushimaya is a lot smaller and Gurindo is a pretty decent sized Daifuku. So let's talk Matsushimaya first. Small Daifuku, but thin, soft mochi skin, a lot of whole beans. For its size, insane amounts of whole beans. One bite, saw the whole beans. Fantastic balance in sweetness and saltiness from the whole beans. Amazing Daifuku, I must say. Despite its size, one of the best in this series for sure. Gurindo. Oh, Gurindo. What can I say about Gurindo? It's like Matsushimaya, but everything that Matsushimaya doesn't do very well, Gurindo does it perfectly. I think it has the perfect size, perfect mochi skin thickness, perfect amount of whole beans, perfect flavor. Matsushimaya has fantastic balance. Gurindo, I would say it has perfect balance. The most refined flavor between saltiness and sweetness of the red bean paste that you can find. So having said that, I believe we have a clear winner. It will have to be Gurindo. Yeah, we were totally blown away. On first bite, you just go. So that concludes our Daifuku showdown. Till we meet again. Bye.